Howdy, I'm Dave, and I'm here to talk to you today about Drupal, what Drupal is, how you can use it for your website, or if you are working on a site that already is Drupal, this is just to help get you acquainted with what it is and what it's capable of. Now, I do want to add that this video is meant to be for the extreme beginners to anything web development at all. So if you've been in this industry for a while, if you've already developed a few websites, this video is probably not for you. I'll do more technically advanced videos later on, but this is just an extreme introduction to Drupal and a couple other options when it comes to building a website or managing your website. So before getting into Drupal, I kind of want to go back in time a little bit and talk about what it really meant to create a website and host it somewhere. What everyone would do is they would write HTML code. Now, HTML code is still a thing. It's still used to this day. But what people would do is they would manually type this out. And HTML code has different attributes that would make your web page look differently based on styles or what kind of tag you used. So if you had a H1, it would make your text really big, and H6 would be really small. If you did a P tag, which is your paragraph tag, it would just give you basic text. So you would build out your web pages using this kind of format. Now, if you had a 1 or 2 page website, this wasn't terrible, still a little bit of annoying, but you could do it. Now, where things became very difficult is if you had 2 pages or 3 pages and you wanted to update your website, you had to update each one of these files and make sure that all the common elements were changed. You would have to make sure that your links to one page or the other would link correctly. So again, still manageable, but it started to get complicated really, really quick. So then people realized that you could have a lot of pages on your website, tens and thousands of pages on your website. You could have e-commerce. You could do all this stuff. But managing one file for every single page of your website obviously became really, really an impossible thing to do. So without getting too technical, then we started introducing databases. A database would hold all your information. A database would feed into a template. So if you had a template here, you could say something like title, and the programming would render whatever page you're looking at and grab the title from the database. So it worked kind of like that. And it made building large websites a lot easier and pretty easy to manage, because instead of having to retype all of this stuff, all you would have to do is go update your database. Now, you still had to know a lot about servers, about your hosting. Everyone knows GoDaddy here. So you would take your files in your database and you would send it up to your web host. Sometimes it would take a while for it to propagate, and you'd have to wait for the whole rest of the internet to see your updated site. So moving kind of past a lot of, there was a lot of tools made in the interim, but a very, very popular one that everyone knows about is WordPress. So WordPress is a content management system originally built for blogs, but then they extended it so you could have commerce, you could have fancy carousels, you could have photo galleries. WordPress is a great program. It's a great platform. I personally don't use it, and this particular video series is meant to be for Drupal, so we're not going to talk too much about WordPress. But I may go back to it for reference, since everyone understands, or everyone has heard of WordPress over the years. All right, so moving on to Drupal, what Drupal is, what it's capable of. We're going to go to Drupal.org, and their site, they have a new web page or new homepage, new.drupal.org/home. Now, I'm going to be honest, if I was not a developer and I landed on this page, I wouldn't be able to make sense of what any of this is or how this is going to help me build a website. It looks very cryptic. Like, wow, that you need to really be a developer to understand what's going on here. And I get that. However, the purpose of this video is to kind of get past this initial confusion and really show you what Drupal is about, what it's capable of, and also why I think it's a really powerful platform, even for smaller sites. Even if you just have a simple brochure site that you may want to update every now and then, Drupal is perfect. Or if you wanted to build a huge site like ACLU, UNICEF, they use Drupal to build out their systems. So don't get scared when you initially look at the Drupal community and you look at the resources for Drupal. I'm going to try to help you out with that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to jump right into getting a Drupal site up and running on your computer. Now, there's a ton of different ways you can do this. This method that I'm going to show is just a method. Once you get comfortable with it, you can do anything else you want. So the Drupal community has come up with a desktop app, and this is it's a very basic system, and it's just a website that's going to live on your computer. The idea behind this is just to demo it, to do basic development on the site, to get you acquainted with what Drupal is, how it works, what it's capable of. So we're going to walk through real quick how to install this and start up your Drupal site. Now, I've already downloaded this here. And actually, if you want the URL, so we'll start back here. If you go to Drupal.org, you'll see their homepage here. Look at Build with Drupal. Click on Download Drupal. Now, ignore this stuff right now. If you're a beginner, this will make no sense. Just go to this link. Want to try Drupal CMS on your desktop. So download the app. Whether you have Mac or Windows or Linux, download the app here, install it, and it's going to go through a little setup process I'll walk you through here in a second. And we'll start up mine. So it's going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to break the video, and I will come back when this is complete. Okay, now that that has installed, you'll see this little screen here, and it says your site is running at localhost 8888. Quick note for the extreme beginners here, especially when we talk about local development, you're going to see URLs like this that say localhost with a port number. This means that the website that we're going to work with lives on your computer. This isn't accessible through the internet. It's not accessible to anyone else. So anything you do on this site will only be visible by you. A cool thing about this kind of a program that they have here is if you want to start over, you can just delete it and start this process over, and you have a brand new site. So we're going to go to this URL. Now, I'm going to walk you through the install process real quick here. Drupal CMS, this is actually a little bit of a confusing thing with the Drupal community. I wish they would have named it something different, because for beginners, it won't make sense. Drupal is a content management system. but they have a pre-configured Drupal setup that they call Drupal CMS. So Drupal is a CMS, but Drupal CMS as a product is pre-configured Drupal. So don't read into that too much, but basically what this kind of a starter distribution of Drupal is performs different things. So if you want to build a blog, case studies, a news site, profiles. So for this, let's go ahead and click on events. So what this is going to do is pre-configure our Drupal site to really be focused around events. For this one here, cool events site. Now again, this is living on your computer, so don't worry about this getting out to anyone. If you mess up, you can always start over again. For your password here, again, since this is local, I just use password as my password. Use whatever you want. If other people use your computer and you don't want them logging into the website, change it to whatever. And we have here our Drupal site. And I want to make a quick note about the last screen that you saw when it says create an account. You're not creating an account on some other website. That's not a Drupal.org account. That's literally the account for your actual website that lives on your computer. So any information you put on there goes nowhere. It literally is just on your computer. So I just want to have you be aware of that. I know that confuses some people when it says create account. It's literally the account on your website. So anyhow, this is the example Drupal events site that they've created. It's a very generic Drupal theme. You have a little menu bar here. Here's some homepage content and your latest content. So if I'm going to work on this site, if this was my cool event site, maybe it's for my neighborhood, and I have a really cool set of neighbors, and I'm creating events that everyone can go to and see what's happening around the neighborhood. When I'm logged into the Drupal site, it's pretty basic. I click on create. I'm going to create an event. And my event is going to be summer barbecue. I'm going to add some images. I'm going to choose from a media library that they gave me as a default, so I don't have a barbecue picture, but we'll use that picture. And I choose my date, a little drop down calendar. Let's say it's going to be from Friday at 7, and it's going to go till 10 p.m. And it's going to be at Dave's house. Address is going to be, we'll call it the United States. Let's go ahead and let's do 1313 Disneyland Drive. Spell that correctly. That's in Anaheim, California, and 92802. Let's see. Join the fun at Dave's. And let's see, for content, bring your family and a side dish for a night of fun. Let's see, a link. So if, let's say that you had your own special website for your barbecues, that'd be really cool. But add a link here. We'll put Google just so you can see the link as it shows up. File. Let's say that you created an event and you wanted a spreadsheet that everyone can put, what they're bringing for a potluck. So you could include the spreadsheet file and people could see it here. For your tags, type them in. We'll say Dave's house. Let's see, family. So these tags are pretty universally used across different systems. So if you wanted to create maybe a view of events that were just barbecue events, you could use these tags to filter for that. Tags is also just a kind of a visual representation of what your content is about. So let's see, let's scroll up and go over to the right side here. Revision log message. So let's say that you had, this was in draft and you didn't know the date yet. You can come back later, edit this content, and you could put in a log message, of change date if you wanted to. So this just helps when you're looking at old content and you want to find out why did it change, or who changed it. You can put it into a different state. So let's say that you don't want to make this public yet. You can save it as draft, or if you're ready to publish it to everyone, you can publish it. So we'll click on published. With this particular setup, you can schedule it. So you could publish it, say, the day before. You can unpublish it the day after if you wanted to. URL alias. So if you look up at any URL that you visit, look at this here. It says /node/add/event. What this is, that's your URL, kind of your URL path. Drupal calls it an alias. So you could create anything you wanted, such as Dave's Cool Barbecue. So if you visit this site /Dave's Cool Barbecue, you would land on this page. What Drupal does and has available, you can generate an automatic URL alias. For this setup, I believe it's going to use the title, and it's going to create a proper URL path based on the title. And this can be extended later, so if you wanted fancier aliases, that's where you would set it up. Authoring information tells who created this. Promotion options. You can promote it to your front page. This basically tags it and says, for the view of events on my front page, go ahead and show this. Sticky at the top of lists. Basically, if you have a list of events and you check this off, this one will always take priority to show towards the top of that list. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And so event Summer Barbecue has been created. Now, you'll scroll down, get your image. And again, this is a very kind of a basic theme, very basic layout of a site. And this right here is actually, there is a map feature, and this is kind of one of the problems of doing local development, is a lot of times it's trying to use an external service, such as Google Maps, to generate a map using your location. But you have to set up a system on their side before it allows you to display it. So this empty spot right here, there's actually supposed to be a map. And this is not a Drupal specific thing. This would happen on WordPress or anything else. You basically have to set up your third-party systems for that. But you have your address here. You have your your description here. And there's my tags. And if I wanted to link, this one goes out to Google. Now, if I go to my home page, so being that I tagged it for the home page, it shows. Pretty cool. You don't have to do any formatting. You don't have to edit your homepage. It just shows up automatically. And these are most likely going to be ordered by date. So if you had another event and it was in October, it would show, after this date. And you notice here, join the fun at Dave's. This was actually your description. So it's kind of like a little teaser content for your event. All right, so now that we've walked through setting up a pretty basic generic Drupal site, showing you how to create some content, how the content looks on your site. One major thing that I want to talk about is making your site look different. Again, for the extreme beginners, we call this theming your website. So basically the colors, the layout, the overall design of your site. I get asked a lot when I build a website if I can make the website look like a WordPress site. And that's it's a lot misleading actually, because when you look at a WordPress theme, a lot of people will go to wordpress.org/themes and they'll see a design that they like and they'll preview it and they say, okay, I want my website to look like this. I want it to have this look and feel. Well, just because this was put on top of WordPress doesn't mean it's a WordPress theme. So I really want to make that clear and get rid of any confusion about the look and feel of your site. Another site that I use quite a bit to get ideas is ThemeForest, and they have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of different themes. And a lot of people use this actually to get creative inspiration. They'll take a look at this theme here and notice that it is Drupal, all the Drupal versions are included. Again, even though this is a Drupal theme, if you wanted to put this theme on WordPress, that's entirely possible. One thing I want to point out with themes, no matter what theme you use, is if I've created this cool event site and all I have is one event and I don't have a whole lot of pictures and I don't really have a whole lot of information on what my site is about, these themes won't do you any good. So when I talk to people about building a website, as basic as Drupal might seem out of the box, meaning a generic installation, it's better to start with your content. Start with what you want to present to your end users. Because if I create neighborhood events, for example, and this is just for my neighborhood, once I start getting users and I start getting feedback for my site, I may want it to look a little bit different. This theme may not work for a neighborhood events site. It might look really cool. But again, content matters the most. Now, that being said, I guess wrapping up all of what I'm trying to say about Drupal is if you're doing a neighborhood events website, chances are you're not going to go global. You're not going to have millions of users. Chances are you're not getting paid to do it, so you don't want to put in too much effort into it without anything in return. But if you did have a site, let's say that you created a website that was for everybody's neighborhood, where anybody else across the country could register on your site, they could join a neighborhood, they could create events within their own neighborhood, and it would be a common site. Then you're going to need this kind of platform to really be able to support that. Because not only are you going to have a ton of different users, you're also going to have a way to separate out different neighborhoods amongst all those users. Drupal does that uh, pretty easily, and I'll cover that kind of a scenario in a later video. And to go a little bit farther, not to get too much in the weeds with this, let's say that you turned this into a national neighborhood event website and you had a lot of different neighborhoods, a lot of different users, and let's say that you wanted to create an app for phones. What you can do, it's I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's pretty straightforward. If you wanted to expose the data from your Drupal website to an app, you could create an app that people can use that logs them in automatically, shows them just their neighborhoods, maybe gives notifications or alerts. You can do that using the data from your site. And that's another thing that I'll cover maybe in a later video. It gets a little more complicated. But that's just one of the many types of capabilities you can build, starting off of a really basic platform just like this. So in the end, consider Drupal. It's not your answer to everything. It doesn't have to be the answer. I'm partial to it just because I build a lot of sites within Drupal. I build really, really small sites. I work on really, really big sites with a lot, hundreds of thousands of users. So if that helps, take my word for it. If you want to experiment with it, try this Drupal CMS launcher app. Play around with it. Take what you learn with a grain of salt. There is a ton of stuff to learn with Drupal. It's not easy, but if you set it up correctly, it's actually a very, very simple platform to use. Again, setting up an event site, log in, create an event, save it. That's all you have to do. There's nothing more to it. Yeah, watch out for some future videos. I'll go into some very specific functionality. I'll try to make the videos a little bit shorter and just kind of get straight to the point of how to do certain things within Drupal. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I'm not sure how well the YouTube commenting system works as far as notifying me, but I'll keep checking back. Let me know. Thanks for trudging through if you made it this far, and we'll see you next time.